Hello there, everyone. How are you? Happy Higher Self Wednesday. How are you doing? Hope all is well. My name is Karen White, and I am the author of this book, Changing Your Game Plan, which is my 12-step journey on how I work the 12 steps with 4 sponsors over the period of 35 years in both rooms of this program. They call us double winners, but I'm in both sides of this program, the non-side and the addictive side, and truly this program has been a blessing to me. My 4 sponsors back in the days, we only had 4 books for the longest and that we worked with. And that was the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is our Bible. No matter what program you're in, you will need the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, because the Big Book is the original book that wrote the 12 steps and how to work them. So no matter what your program is, get the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Whenever you see alcohol or any of that, just take it out and put your program in it, and you will relate to that book. If you're a 12-step program person, no matter where you're at, get that book. Then I work with the AA 12 and 12, the Al-Anon 12 and 12, and the ODAP book. Those are the 4 books. This book is a workbook. It is set up in 12-step style, so it's set up sponsor and sponsee. So the sponsee has a part, the sponsor has a part to do. It is not meant to work alone. It is meant to work with somebody, preferably somebody in a 12-step program. I always say get a sponsor in this program, so you should always have a sponsor in this program. So work it with your sponsor first and foremost. If not, work it with maybe your therapist if you want, or a clergyman, but somebody that's in the 12-step program. But it is not a workbook that is meant to work alone. It is meant to work with somebody. And it is available on Amazon.com, so you can go out there and purchase it. It is a great book to work the steps with. It is my experience. Take what you like and leave the rest. I have used it now to work with hundreds of women, maybe even thousands of women, to get them through the 12 steps so that they can get back on the track of life that they need to get back on, and enjoy their life and their circumstances and their families again, and function the way that they need to be functioning in real time. You know what I'm talking about. Anybody out there, 12 step? Yeah, know what you're talking about, Karen. But anyhow, it is a great workbook, so get it and work the steps. Work the steps. Anyway, thank you guys for all your support. I love you very much. You are so appreciated in my heart. I am having such a wonderful time. These Wednesdays are for me as well. I get a chance to study and learn more all the time about this program and how to make my life much better and do things differently and better, you know. And so I love it. I love it. I love it. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this for the first time, just stay. Um, there is a way for you to be able to get a hold of me. I don't talk on any other social media platforms, Messenger or anything like that. The best way, if you want to reach me, is to go on programchild.net. In the comments section, fill out the form, say what you need to say, and I will respond to you within 24 hours. I have enjoyed so much speaking at your groups, meeting you, talking to you, or speaking to groups on Zoom, speaking in groups on person, going to conferences. This has just been fabulous, getting to know you and talking to you, and you tell me you love the videos and what am I going to do next and everything. So it's just been a privilege, and if you do reach out, if I can do any of that for you, I will certainly do that for you, okay? Anyway, are you ready to get started? Last week I talked about the list, and I went into the different parts that the list consists of. because there's different parts of this. This just isn't a list of names. This is a list, and it's broken down into categories. And last week I talked about the categories on the list. So if you didn't see last week's video, go back and replay it. And don't forget to hit the like button right now and subscribe to Programchild, so that when these videos come out, you'll get a little bing bing to know that they're out and they're available for you. Anyway, let's go. Let's get started. I always get excited. You know what I do first and foremost, no matter what. In changing the game plan, one of the things that I always talk about is you need to know every word in the step, because we are 12-step people. We do not change unless we understand why we're changing and what we're changing for. So you need to know every single word of the step. So I always start these videos off by telling you the exact meaning of the step, word for word. So we're on step 8, and step 8 says, made a list of all peoples we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now, the first word, and it starts off with a bang, made. It just comes off made. Made means produce or manufacture by constructing, shaping, or forming. And a means every, to each, per. List, a series of names, words, or other items written, printed, or imagined one after the other. The list. Of, derived or come from, originating at or form, caused by, resulting from, all, consulting, being or representing the total extent of the whole. We, which is used to indicate a speaker or a writer along with others as the subject. You know, had is the next word. To accept in some relation. To accept in some relation. Harm, physical or psychological injury or damage. And a logical operator that returns a true value only if both operands are true. Isn't that powerful? Become, to come, to change, to grow, to be, to come into being, develop or progress into. Willing, disposed or inclined, prepared, acting or ready to act gladly, eagerly, or compliant. That was my list. When I got there, I was so willing. I mean, I was just feeling the willingness. I was so excited and ready to move quick. I wanted to get it done because I had worked 1 through 7, and I knew that 8 and 9, if all the rest of these steps had been so powerful, 8 and 9 was going to do a magnificent thing. Make, to bring into existence by shaping, modifying, or putting together. Amends, recompense for grievance or injury. Isn't that powerful? 2, which means, you know, again, in a direction toward, as to reach, towards something. Them, it refers to the things or people other than the people addressed, meaning you. All, consulting, being or representing the total extent of the whole. So that is what that step means, and it's very, very important that you know, when we're doing this, we get an understanding of what all these words mean, because it helps us see what this step is trying to do for us, and where we're going with this, and it's just a breakdown of it. So let's start. First of all, let's keep it simple. Remember, this is only a list. That's it. It's just a list. Yes, it's broken out into different categories, but it's a list. This list comes from the 5th step, and so your sponsor knows this list in your 5th step. And so you get this list anyway, but you still have to work 6 and 7, and then this is when your sponsor starts taking you and breaking things down to you, why you're doing this, the purpose of doing this, what you're trying to change, how this is going to help your behavior from this point on, how this is going, to help mend some things that you have been trying to mend and not know how to open the door for. So this is where you and your sponsor really get to work in these different categories with these different items so that you can see some of the benefits that you're trying to accomplish by doing this from this list. So we first and foremost want to keep it simple. It is just a list, but it is an important list because this is the list that has shown you that you have not been perfect. And this is the list that has also humbled you, which all the steps, every step, you just get more and more humble. But this was the step that this list showed me that I wasn't as perfect as I thought I was and that I had hurt people. And I never thought I did. I always justified people. I always justify, well, they hurt me. Well, they did it like this. Well, I'm going to do it first before they get it done. Just insanity at the highest. And so now you have this list before you, and now you can determine and do something about it and act on it and be getting prepared so that you can jump into step 9. So today we're going to talk from the Al-Anon literature. We're going to, next 2 weeks, we're going to talk from the Al-Anon 12 and 12. So we're going to jump into that. And then we're going to also, from the Al-Anon 12 and 12, we're going to, next week, go into the ODAT a little bit and talk from the ODAT. About this. So let's go into the Al-Anon literature on step 8. And let me grab the right book. I have the wrong book in front of me. So the Al-Anon 12 and 12 on step 8 starts on page, let's see, here we go. We're starting on page 49. In the Al-Anon 12 and 12, okay? So the first thing, I'm going to jump down well, I always like to read the first chapter anyway, because it kind of, gets us settled and gets us started. It says, if it was sometimes difficult for us to determine how something we had done could have hurt someone else or what hidden motives we might have had for what we had done. We might have even wondered why we should become willing to make amends. And I just told you, we just talked about that. It was very hard, especially on my non-side. It was one thing on my addictive side, because that was the selfishness to the highest. But my non-side was definitely the selfishness to the highest and to the highest. And, that my hidden motives were what I seen on this side more than anything. My hidden motives to make things work out the way that I wanted them to work out. And always thinking that I had an upper hand because I was thinking sharper or smarter or doing things faster, and I wasn't. And so, this was a really, really tough step for me on the non-side especially. And it comes down into the second paragraph. It says, accepting this discipline with complete honesty may have caused us some pain. However, we find the results well worth it, for it presents the opportunity for us to have a clear conscience and gain better understanding of ourselves. And I love that because it does. It gives you such a clear conscience when you start becoming willing. And I talk about this in the video before. I talk about the biggest word in here is willing. The willingness alone, the drive of the willingness alone makes you feel so responsible and and if you can feel responsible for yourself, it is such a high. It is such like, I am doing something. I am trying. I'm responsible. I'm going to take this responsibility on to no matter what. it really makes you feel like you're really taking care of yourself when you're becoming responsible. And it goes on to say, although the guilt may have been deeply hidden in our self-consciousness, step 8 gives us the courage to bring it into the daylight. It says later we could do whatever we felt necessary to free ourselves from the pain inflicted by our own past actions. By doing our courageous best with these steps, we begin to feel more comfortable with ourselves, and that is no joke. I mean, this list alone made me so comfortable. It just made me the steps are all about the knowing. And this list, it was the knowing that I had done some things and I needed to make it right. I had a responsibility to make it right, like anybody else had a responsibility to make it right with me that was trying to recover it too. And what I was always expecting people to do, whether they were recovering or not. And then it goes on to say, there were questions to ask ourselves in making this list. What did we do that hurt someone? Why did we do it? What were the consequences? Did it do permanent damage? Were the single instances in which we were unfair, unkind, deceitful, selfish, or hurtful? And, I think that was the most powerful thing when I saw the list, and I was going from 5 to 8 with this list, because from 5 on I had this list. My sponsor had this, but I still had to complete 6 and 7, because without 6 and 7 correcting those character defects and getting those into the right perspective, I would not have become as willing as I became to see these things, the unfairness, the unkindness, the deceitfulness, the selfishness, and all the things that I had done so hurtful, that had hurt so, other people, that I owed amends for. And become willing to do these letters and make these financial amends and do whatever it took on this list that was before me to make things right. And it goes on to say, it says, we may have tempted to justify what we did by thinking, but I did that only because of what she or he did to me, or I really only meant to help him get sober. How could I know it was going to turn out this way? We could not let ourselves take refuge in excuses, or step 8 would not have done its best for us. And oh my God, that whole list, when I looked at that list, that was all ringing in my head, because, I always justified everything that I did. I never justified what you did to me, but I always could justify what I did to you. So that was really important. It goes, one area this is the third paragraph on page 50. It says, one area in which most of us found ample opportunity to put this step into practice was in our family relationships. Here again, love and concern for husbands, wives, children, or parents did not always assure we treated them well. Therefore, we looked at our own behavior and determined who belonged on our list. And yes, I had lots of family members that I had to clean up stuff with. And, I actually started there. When my sponsor started me, she started me with the family, the top dogs first, the mom, the dads, and all that. And then she ran it down, with the other people in tail, and then I ended it with me on the list and God. She actually kind of put me in the middle, and then God at the end. So it was really powerful on that list to see that. It says, the trials and stress of living with alcoholic certainly may have distorted our perspectives. And if you're any of the non-programs, remember, put whatever your addictive, whatever it is that you're living with in that space. If we had children, we carefully examine ways we have harmed them, even unintentionally. Our overprotection might have deprived them of opportunities for growth. It says, loud, bitter quarrels may have done untold damage to the youngest by undermining their feelings of security and generating hate for the alcoholics or others. Where such situations exist, we may have had many amends to make. It says our children may have resented us the most because of where the non-drinking parent was in this situation. If they heard angry reproach, or if we made them suffer for our frustrations, they may have felt even warmer toward the alcoholic. That happens a lot. Our behavior may have seemed more irrational than the alcoholics. It goes on to say, we could take all these things into consideration when we make a list of those whom we had harmed and who we owed amends. And it goes on to say, finally, what about the harm we have inflicted on ourselves throughout the years? This was so touching for me. Hadn't we suffered because of our own errors of judgment, our willfulness, and our shortcomings? Most of us had many amends to make to ourselves now that we have found ways to improve our lives. Certainly we deserve to be on that list too. And that's why you are on that list. Because you do owe yourself amends, for the things that you have done. And it's so humbling it's nothing like apologizing to yourself and making the amends to yourself. And, in the last video, I talked about, how we made the amends, the structure of not saying I'm sorry no more. You don't say that anymore. You make the amends, you stand up, you be responsible. I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And ask for forgiveness. Stand there. I was wrong. Will you forgive me? Because you are doing two things in that. You are first and foremost correcting your behavior so that you can never do that again. And then it's humbling you. And those are the two things that we need. We need a change of behavior, and we need to stay humble to be able to continue to recover in this program at the level that we need to recover at. So remember, just keep it simple. It's a list. That's all. With categories. That's what we're working on when we're doing step 8. Listen, if you're in this program, stay. If you're new and this is the first time you've ever heard the video, like I said, go to programchild.net and then find a group and start going to meetings, attend meetings. And then while you're attending meetings, get a sponsor. I got a sponsor the first night I was there because I heard get a sponsor. I got a sponsor and it changed my life. And she got me working immediately. And attend these meetings and listen and work hard for yourself. If you've been around these rooms, stay. If you, keep cracking at it, keep hitting. You are a rock. But you can break. All rocks there's some type of pressure that can break it. And we will help you apply the pressure that you need to do to get these things broken out of your life and get your life changed around in these rooms and with a sponsor. So thank you so much for supporting me, on these videos. I'm really appreciating everything. You're supporting everything, and keep coming back to these Higher Self Wednesdays. Look at the other videos, and they're all about the steps. We're just studying the steps. And until we meet again, blessings over you today, great people.